What's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. So the competitor list for the 2025 Japan Pro, which is the next show on the schedule, just got released. And honestly, the Men's Open Pro Bodybuilding for this show is actually a pretty stacked, pretty deep lineup for, kind of a relatively obscure show. Towards the end of the year, when most people, are kind of shutting things down for the year, the holidays are right around the corner. But this Japan lineup seems to be a really competitive one. So you've got Ibi Bastam, Piljun Bong, Sean Clarita. This was a surprise to see Sean Clarita's name on this list. I had no idea that he was doing this show. I think that makes this lineup really interesting. We talked about Mark Hector and James Hollingshead both yesterday. You've also got Wan Sik Wong. Ed Cargbo is back for this show. Kang Min Kim, Sungmin Kim, Taeyang Kim, Shingo Komatsu, Jangmin Lee, Bom Oh. You've also got Matthew O'Reilly, Artem Pachniuk, Poria Payan, Srirachi Plan Game, Florian Porson, Bartholomew Popielarczyk. And I honestly think one of the really big ones here is Joan Pradells is doing this show, looking for that first competitive win of 2025 and of his entire career. You've also got Yassine Quaderi, Minaj Saragapani, Jiyuji Sekin, Ruslan Sanatsa, Beef Stew, Stuart Sutherland, Mazahar Tabanya Bargani, Jan Turek, Lian Yang, Gu Shen Wang, Chen Zhao, and Enzhao. So let's talk about some of these guys here. As far as standouts and frontrunners in this lineup, I think at that top of the list, Sean Clarita, I think that's a big one here. We just saw him last on stage at the Mexico Pro back in October. That was 1 week after the Olympia. He was third there behind Regan Grimes and Tonio Burton. We saw him compete at the Olympia, obviously, in 212, where he was runner-up to Keon Pearson. And he did the Arnold Classic in 2025 Men's Open, where he was 7th. So we have not seen him win an open show in 2025. In fact, I think the last open show he won would have been back in 2020. Was it 2021 when he won the Legion? Yeah, I guess it was. It was that long ago. So it was almost 5 years ago that he won the open category of the Legion Sports Festival. So we haven't seen him win an open show in a while is the point. But in a lineup like this where you've really got quite a few names that we've talked about a lot, but have not won a pro show this year, or most of them haven't won a pro show at all. This could be a lineup where we see Sean Clarita do very well, or even potentially win. So I think as far as maybe top 3 standout guys, I think Sean would be, kind of towards the top of my list here. I'll probably get into Mark Hector and James Hollingshead towards the end of the video, since we did talk about them just yesterday. But I want to skip down to Beef Stew because we haven't seen Stew compete in a while. I knew that Stew was doing the show, and we kind of talked about how it seems like James Hollingshead, this is a show where, he's kind of looking for redemption. I would say the same thing about Stew. We saw Stew do the Texas Pro and the Tampa Pro, 9th in Tampa, 8th in Texas. Not nearly as high as I was expecting him to place at those shows. We had seen him as high as 4th in 2024 at the Cali Pro, and also 4th at the New York Pro in 2024. And honestly, like I said earlier, I'm a bit surprised with how competitive this lineup is here, because when Stu told me he was doing this show however many months ago when we talked about it, I was like, yeah, that's probably going to be one of these shows that, maybe not a lot of people shows up to. It's the end of the year. It's right around the holidays. It's pretty out of the way. It's in Japan. I thought, it's probably not going to be the strongest lineup, and Stu's probably going to have a really good chance of winning that show. And again, looking at this lineup, I'm a bit surprised with how many, there's some heavy hitters here. I know a lot of them haven't ever won a show, but there's some pretty good bodybuilders in this lineup. So I think this is going to be a difficult one, probably slightly more difficult than I thought it would be for Stu. Because I thought when this lineup came out, for sure, I would be talking about Stu as probably a top 3 guy, probably in the mix with Mark and James, but I don't know if that's going to be the case. I don't even know, for sure that Mark and James would be top 3 here, because another guy doing this show, really big deal this year, Joan Pradells. He has been really the talk of the bodybuilding world, competing in tons of shows. Frankly, he's brought some really impressive looks. I mean, you look at the Romania Pro where he was 2nd to Andrew Jacked, the Poland Pro where he was second, the Prague Pro where he was fifth and at one point tied with Keon Pearson, the British Grand Prix where he was top 3. That's a show that he just recently placed ahead of James. He's a really dangerous guy, and he's got a ton of potential. I think everybody can see that, and I think he's got a really good shot at maybe even winning this show. Honestly, I think for me, looking at this lineup, even above somebody like Sean Clarita, when I saw Joan was added to this list, I feel like Joan is kind of my number one pick right now to win this show, even over somebody like Sean Clarita. I mean, we saw Sean do that open show in Mexico that we talked about earlier. We saw him get beaten by Regan Grimes and Tonio Burton. I feel like Joan versus Sean, if Joan is on and he's in shape, I think he beats Sean. And I kind of feel like this is his show. And I think we get to see maybe a really good scenario for him where he qualifies really early for the 2026 Olympia, and he has all of 2026 to focus only on that and not have to worry about trying to qualify and doing all these back-to-back shows. He would then get to just focus on his Olympia debut, and I think probably make a pretty big splash. And then, you know, as far as James and Mark go, I'll just show the same pictures that I used when we talked about them in yesterday's video. You know, I kind of thought going into this show they were going to be the two favorites here based on some of the names that I had heard were doing the show until this list came out. And we've got some, you know, really pretty surprising bangers in this lineup. Now, I do think that both James and Mark have a shot at being top 3 here. I'm pretty impressed with both of their updates. I think the updates that we've seen from James lately look more impressive than some of the updates we saw of him going into some of the shows that he didn't do as well at. But I think they'll probably both end up in the top 5. I mean, if we go back to the list here for a second, I think I'm going to predict that Joan is going to win. I'm going to go Sean Clarita in second. And man, this is tough because I really would like to see Beef Stew back in the mix here. But I think I would go, I'd go Clarita second. I'm going to go Mark Hector in third. I'm going to go James Hollingshead fourth. I'm going to go Beef Stew in fifth. But then again, I suppose you do have Ed Cargbo doing the show. You do have Jan Turek in this lineup. They could be top 5 guys here. I really do think that Joan Pradells, this might be the one that we see him win, though. I think I'm comfortable with that prediction. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Based on this competitor list going into the Japan show, I think we have a little bit of a deeper lineup than I anticipated. Who do you have winning based on this lineup? Sean Clarita, I think, is a surprise here. Maybe a lot of people have him winning. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel, click that bell notification icon if you have not already. And as always, I love you guys, appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power, signing out. All right, guys, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content. Also, check out my Instagram at Nick Strength Power. My Facebook page, which is simply Nick Strength and Power. My secondary YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Vlogs, for vlogs and bonus content that you will not see on this channel. And consider subscribing to my third YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Pokemon, which is all things Pokemon and trading card games, completely unrelated to this channel. So if you're into that, give that one a look. And all links to merchandise and social media will be in the description box below. If you guys want a Nick Strength and Power t-shirt, that will be in the Shopify link below. Have a great day.